I have decided to supplement our forces by hiring mercenaries. Tell me, how far away is the nearest free company?
Well, my lord, it's about 10 leagues. As the Stormcrow flies. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Tabletop Never Stop. Today we are talking about the Stormcrow unit boxes, which with these releases, I would say that the neutral factions really come into its own, which is quite exciting. The Stormcrows have a pretty cool ability across both units of them called Adaptive, which basically means when you're building the army, if you put an attachment into a Stormcrow unit, you get to reduce the cost of it by 1, which is actually, I think, a really cool mechanic to see come into the game. In my last video, I kind of ranted a little bit about how I didn't like all these abilities that are out there that can delete attachments, and I feel like it discourages people from bringing them. So here's the opposite of that, an ability that encourages you to bring an attachment. So that's a pretty exciting ability. As a result of this ability, though, the units themselves aren't that exciting. So let's talk about these Stormcrows. So here's the Stormcrow mercenaries. Speed 5 unit, hitting on 4s, the dice line of 753. A defense save of 4 up and a morale save of 7 up. As already stated, they are adaptive. And they also have motivated by coin. If targeted by the money bags, this unit may replace its effect with this unit and make a free attack action. If he stacks up against some of our other 5-cost units, and maybe don't look that good, sort of just okay across the board, okay dice, okay to hit, okay defense. So we're really going to need to rely on our adaptive to make these guys worth something, or to make these guys excel anyway. And motivated by coin is an interesting ability. Certainly when everyone is at full health, getting some couple wounds is not nearly as good as getting a free attack action. And of course, this ability also synergizes with a lot of other neutral abilities to get bonuses off of the money bags spot of the tactics board. There's a lot of stuff you can do with these guys. Adaptive really gives you some fluidity with certain builds. For example, if I was doing a Joffrey build with the Kingsguard, here's a pretty cheap way to get sneak in 1 or 2 more Kingsguard onto a list with Joffrey. So that's a thing you could certainly do. The Night's Watch, especially in 1.5, probably are really going to love these guys. Not only are we getting a free attachment, but they just don't have access to cheap troops. Outside, of course, of the very killable... the hell are those guys called? Outside of the very killable conscripts, and since conscripts already don't get to take vows, like you're not really trading up to these guys isn't gonna affect you negatively, really. Also could see this is a cheap way to get a couple more panic attachments for a panic list. If I wanted to bring out some more Bolton Flayers or something like that, that's a thing I could certainly do. But one thing we could definitely do with these guys is just put the Stormcrow Lieutenant in here with them. They are, of course, a 1-point attachment. The mercenaries can take them for just 5 points. They have ability when you control the money bag symbol. This unit gains +1 dice and sundering. So all of a sudden, it's still a 4-up with 8, 6, and 4 dice, and then sundering makes them a little bit more dangerous. That ability does work well with motivated by coin. The only problem with this, of course, is that if the money bag symbol is blocked, this ability is not doing anything. It's actually a thing we see in lots of neutral lists. There's several other neutral attachments that revolve around having the money bag symbol. It's actually really good synergy with Baratheon here, since they have access to Alistair Florent, and Florent can guarantee you control of the money bag symbol twice per game, and if you figure you'll probably be able to claim it yourself once or twice, all of a sudden this idea of like, oh, let's take all these cards like Bronn and the 2-point version of Dario that need to have the money bag symbol, like all of a sudden having 3 or 4 units that rely on that isn't such a bad thing. So Stormtrooper Mercenaries with Stormcrow Lieutenants, actually pretty good. And let's move on here to the Stormcrow Archers. In a lot of ways, just a ranged version of the Mercenaries. Speed 5 unit has a long range attack that hits on 4s with a dice line of 753. And if they're forced into melee, they hit on 5s with a 6-4-3 line. Since defense saves on 5 up and a morale of 8, which is right there in the bad. Alright, so we already said they have long range, and we've covered adaptive. in the mercenaries, and of course motivated by coin is the same ability. When you claim the money bag symbol, you can replace this effect with this unit and make a free attack action. I actually like that ability a little bit more here, just because it's a little more versatile. Well, it's easier to use in earlier rounds, for one thing, because, obviously if no one's engaged, getting a free attack is not going to do anything, but for a ranged unit, now, for 12 inches out, we are cooking with gas. So these guys have the same ability to take attachments. Everything we said about like Baratheon synergy still applies here. Well, for one thing, Baratheons currently don't have any access to ranged units, so Stormcrow archers are pretty natural in that sense. We put the Stormcrow lieutenant in there, and now they, for 6 points, they're decent dice attack with sundering. They are actually pretty much, I would say, they're worse than the Lannister crossbowmen, but we're not really supposed to compare across factions. But so I don't know if Lannisters need these guys, unless you really want to be able to activate on the money bag symbol. But like I said, Baratheons will work quite well with these guys. We can use Alistair Thorne to guarantee that if we wanted to give them Stormcrow lieutenants to guarantee that they have sundering, so that works. I think Night's Watch can also use these guys. They're cheaper. They're a point cheaper than crossbowmen. And with their adaptive ability, we can cheaply put in Pip for that nimble, which would be quite nice. And also, it's a pretty cheap way to get Othel Yarwick onto your siege unit list. And those are the Stormcrows. Quite an interesting addition to our neutral faction, or any faction with enough money to pay them. So hopefully this video was entertaining and informative. And if it was, give it a like, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.